the antebellum period sees a series of compromises, starting with the Missouri Compromise, actually back in the 1820s. And then for a period, they were just kind of ignoring this issue of slavery throughout the United States. And every generation thought that the next generation would figure it out. And then the 1850s hit, and the Mexican War leads to the Mexican Cession. And now they have to think again about what to do with all of that land out in the West, and the issue of slavery bubbles up again. And this is going to lead to the Compromise of 1850. Now, the California issue really pushes the extension of slavery discussions, because in 1849 we have this mass migration, and in fact a mass white migration into the West. 300,000 people moved to California, enough people to get it to want to create a state out of the territory. Now, California is going to be important for a number of reasons. One, it's going to spur transcontinental railroad development, trying to connect the East and the West Coast. It's also going to be important because of telecommunications. There's going to be these telegraph lines running throughout the country. It's going to create a need for a national marketplace. It's also important because it just decimates the native culture and population in the West. All those Plains Indians are going to suffer because the railroads coming through, and because the white population there is just going to just destroy the buffalo, which is the main resource of the Plains Indians, but they're also going to target Native Americans with the military. It's just going to be awful for them. There's also a great deal of anti-Asian racism out in the West, similar to what we see on the East Coast with the Irish and the Germans immigrants. Later, you're going to be the Italians and others, and obviously against the Black population. The Asian population in the West is going to face severe racism. Now, California is going to want to come in as a free soil state because they did fear slavery as mine labor. They didn't want big plantation owners to bring their slaves into California and then use slavery to mine the fields. There is this myth that we think that cotton was the only thing that slavery could have been used for, and that's just not true. So California looks at this. They want to be a free soil state. They want to ensure that the white population there doesn't have to compete against slave labor, because free soil doesn't mean abolition. It's not morally repugnant. It's just they don't want to compete with the labor. And over a series of political things, Henry Clay's involved, and John C. Calhoun has this passionate argument against this. There's a fear that the balance of power will be upset if California comes in as a free soil state, and it would have given the free soil states one more state than the South. So the South is going to demand some concessions for this. In the end, the Compromise of 1850, California comes in as a free soil state. They also banned slavery, or at least the sale of slaves in D.C., Washington, D.C. Doesn't mean that slavery goes away, but there's no more sales there. Here's what the South gets. In the South, you could argue, gets the better end of the deal. The South gets the Fugitive Slave Act, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute, and gets popular sovereignty within all of the territory acquired during the Mexican Cession. The Mexican Cession.